Lovely. Right, so here's a thought that I would like to ask you.
Okay.
How fast did you try to fire your hips at the start of your downswing?
Well, to be honest, something I'm working on my swing is not firing them at all, or the feel of not firing them at all.
Love that.
And a lot of the time we see players have this understanding that to get more power, get more distance, they need to get open, they fire the hips. They really neglect the whole sequence of how the club and the arms need to relate to the body. So for me personally, one of my biggest faults growing up, started golf from a young age with clubs that were way too heavy for me. And I would swing them all the way back behind me and I'd try and fire the hips to get power. But what we're gonna see is the arms get way stuck behind the body. You can see they're quite high and behind the right hip here by this downswing stage. And then at the moment of impact, sure, you can make that work as a kid for a little bit, but you're certainly not going to get the amount of speed and power that's going to deliver long-term results as you could otherwise. Yes. So my actual swing thought when I'm hitting the golf ball at the moment is quite different. I'm actually ensuring that I'm trying to turn as much as I can in the backswing and feeling that my arms are actually unloading more down in front of my body. So you can see it's almost that my chest and hips are actually slower.
You're staying closed.
Staying close. And my arms are actually down in front. Now, a lot of players are going to go, well, why would you do that? Aren't you going to scoop? Aren't you going to hit behind? Well, my thought of doing that is very different from the real, which is happening, which is it's in 0.001 of a second, speeding up a little bit faster, which then allows me to deliver like this and hit shots like that.
100% agree with you there.
So for those players who are firing their hips a little bit too much, Ty, what would you say to them is a better way to think about it, maybe a drill for them to work on?
Yeah, I mean, what I really love doing, and this goes very, very old school, you imagine just taking a alignment stick through your belt loops.
Okay.
Right, so basically, imagine you've got that thing there, and imagine you have a golf club in your hands as well. So the alignment stick would really kind of stick out a long way.
Yep.
Now make a backswing for me. Right, so if I come around to the side here for you, see, what a lot of people understand by firing the hips is that that left pocket needs to go back as fast as possible, which is obviously going to also kick your right knee out, your hip in the way, and you can see that club now is way stuck behind this alignment stick, right? I've seen a guy rip his belt loop off while I did this exercise for him the first time, even though specifically said, just hit it nice and soft, didn't quite work. So this is a great drill to create some awareness that the very first thing we want to do is actually allowing the arms to lower as you're pressuring down into your left side. And then look at all that room you've got for that club in front of you, and guess what? At impact, you're still open.
Yeah, exactly. So what you do see with the professional golfer, right, is that moment of time where you see them open as they strike the golf ball with the hips open. A lot of players go, well, they must have got there from just firing the hips aggressively to start the swing.
Yes.
It's just a time and place when the ball is struck. They certainly didn't fire their hips as fast as they can. There is a sequence that needs to happen in which at the top of the golf swing, let's say there's a nice rotation, 90 degrees of the upper body, 45 of the lower, the arms begin to slowly unload underneath. They get in sync, so by the time that the club shaft is level with the ground, majority of PGA Tour professional players, we're going to see the logo of their glove in front of their right leg for the right-hander, and then as they rotate down into the golf ball, they're going to look in this position, okay? So they weren't at any stage really just trying to fire their hips to get the most amount of power. Yes, their hips move fast, but that's just because they're athletic. If you analyzed Michael Phelps' swimming motion compared to mine, he's going to look a lot more athletic, even though our intention is exactly the same thing.
Yes.
So when we're doing this and we want to try and sync up those hands and arms, you're saying putting an alignment rod through your belt buckles is a great way to do it.
It's a great way of doing it.
Seen a lot of players do drills such as that just to try and sync up. And just to introduce this concept to the players at home, right? What would be like a good little checkpoint that they could work on by club shaft parallel and maybe just hit a few small shots to start off with, right? Yeah. Just going to the top, coming down to parallel, and then following through. Do you like that one?
Love it.
Okay, great. So jump in here and I want you to just kind of point out as I do this, maybe some specifics to that motion.
Of course. All right. Lovely. That's nice there. So what you could all see, and I think this is a really huge one, right, is for us to understand to get the hands in front of your basically right thigh, we simply can't spin because the hands would be too high and you would need to start scooping down at the golf ball, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So once we're down here, guess what? You know, now is the point of where we really feel there is going to be rotation and extension. So now as you start pushing off that lead side, open your body up and again try to create that structure that we talked about earlier where those arms are more fully extended. that's going to create the strike and the opening of the pelvis and the body for you.
Yeah.
So we got to get down there first and pressure into the ground to then actually use that to extend and rotate where you need to at the right time.
This is very, very important. I just did a bunch of great videos with Steve Furlonger talking about how to shift your pressure correctly in the downswing. And we talked about what's called point of application.
Yeah.
So at the top of the golf swing, point of application means really where in your foot are you shifting your pressure?
Yes.
And we would see players who in transition, they would shift their pressure straight back to their heel. On their lead heel. Yes. Now when you do that, the backside's going to start to spin out and we're going to lose any sequence or structure. But what we see measuring with the best players in the world is that point of application is actually going to be on the ball of this front foot here.
Yes.
And as we do that, that's actually going to allow the arms to unload. Now, the more you push into that ball, we are going to have an equal and opposite force of the ground then pushing back as a reaction.
Back at you, yeah.
And then as a result, we're going to see that we're going to get into that very tall, extended position, which really is going to translate into a lot more energy at the moment of impact.
100% correct.
So spinning the hips in the downswing tight, it's not a good thing whatsoever.
No.
For some players, look, it may work for a feel or two, but for a lot, it's not. Any final thoughts here to tie a bow on this?
I think it's really, a lot of it is a lot of down to like really old school instruction. I think when we were kids, you know, I remember certainly I've been told to think about a barrel and just turn my hips inside a barrel and make sure I turn and flick my hands.
Yep.
And then I wondered why I hooked every single golf ball and sometimes got lucky and hit a nice little draw. So as we went on in golf tuition, we accumulated a lot more knowledge, a lot more data, and we understand, okay, actually it might look like somebody's firing in the hips, but even if you look at a guy like Rory, where they always say like he's got such fast hips, and you measure it, they're pretty quick, but you look at him shaft parallel to the ground, his hips are pretty much square.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So he hasn't spun at all, and he's created downwards pressure with some torque, of course, but now the real firing happens much later than most people think.
So look, really understanding that it's more about sequencing the motion, the body, the arms, and the club together, using this little downswing reference here of when the hands are really in front of that back leg by the downswing, hips are relatively square, and then from there you can rotate as hard as you like. Yes. But you'll find that if you shift your pressure correctly, you've allowed your arms to unload underneath you, you get into this position, you don't have to worry about that, which is such a key because, look, downswing happens in 0.25 of a second. It's so quick, any conscious thought of you spinning your hips. Really, the club head, which we're going to do and talk about in another video, being the GPS of the golf swing here, it's just going to be put in all sorts of weird and not wonderful positions that are going to cause some issues. So if you're trying to fire your hips, this is some information that you need to start to impart, and it will help you hit the golf ball better.